Hey guys, welcome back to the Intro to Coding series. In this video, we are going to be going over functions in Python. Functions are incredibly important in basically every programming language. Sometimes they're called something different. Sometimes they're called methods, functions, definitions, I think. There's a lot of names, but primarily they're called functions. And if you say functions in the programming world, people will know what you're talking about. So let's jump into it. Boop. Great. So, functions. So the first thing you need to know for a function is that you can define a function. That's right, we're defining things now. We're fancy. By typing def and then space and then the name of your function. A function is defined with basically whatever you want. It can be basically called whatever you want. So let's do something like print words. And then we're going to use open and close parentheses and then a colon, just like it's a if statement or a for loop or anything like that. Now let's go down here and we can print things into this. So like this is a sentence. And let's print this a few times. And as you can see, just like everything else in Python, this is a block, meaning if we, well, let's see what happens. If we do this and we do print words, just basically like it's defined right here, then when we run this, boom, we get this is a sentence 4 times. So, that might not seem particularly useful because we don't need to print this so many times. But say this did something that was kind of complex. Say it did some fancy math or something like that. Or, ask the user to log in or something. Rather than having to kind of add that code in a bunch of different places throughout your program, it's way better to have a single definition of a function that can provide that feature. So say this was doing something important. If we needed to do it again, we would just type print words instead of typing this is a sentence printing 4 times. So now if we ran, we're getting it multiple times now because this is the second run and this is the first run. Okay, so this might not really seem super useful yet because, we're just printing stuff. There's nothing else it can really do, right? Wrong. Another thing we can do is we can say like print sentence. And something you can do with functions is that they can take parameters. So let's take in a name here and add the colon and then enter again. So now let's print something here saying, welcome, name, we are so happy to have you. Now, say you had a game or something like that where you wanted to say this line multiple times. It's way easier to just have a function, again, where we can type print sentence and enter a name and pass it just like this. So basically the way we are passing this string of Jake is we are calling the function and we are adding in the string, and this will basically be the variable name. Similar to a for loop, how we talked before, where a num or number here or person here, it's basically a variable that's defined within the scope of the rest of the block. So this name is available here, but if we try and print name like here, it won't work. You can see we have the little yellow squiggles already because it's saying that name is not defined at all. But if we added this here, or we were already using it here, it knows that this is a parameter to this function. So let's run this. We got all of our sentences. Let's get rid of these because it's not very useful. And we are seeing, welcome Jake, we are so happy to have you. Perfect. Now we have a function with a single parameter, but what if we want more than one parameters? Let's make a function that does some complex math. We'll take in number 1, we'll take in number 2, and we will add a colon, and then we will return num1 plus num2. Super complex math. Now, we've reached a new keyword. What does return do? So basically what return does is all of these functions we've used so far have just printed something and printed it out, the normal way we have printed things so far. What return does is actually says wherever you're calling this, wherever this is being called, like how this is being called here, return the response of this to wherever it's being called. So what does that mean? Maybe that was vague. Basically what this means is that if we type, say, math question, and we say equals, so that this is our variable that we're defining, and we tell it to do some complex math, and we say like 2 and, let's just do 1 and 1. Very complex. Similarly, with everything else separated by a comma, just like the parameters are here. But now what happens is that if we print math question here, we are going to get the returned value of this function. So meaning the value of math question will be equal to whatever this complex math function does. So let's run here. Bam, we can see we got, sorry, this is just due to a formatting error of Visual Studio here, but we got 2. Perfect. Our complex math has worked. Now, say we want to change this to a 5, and we run it again. Now we get 6. So, you can see that our complex math is working. And let's keep it as that so we know what 1 + 1 equals. So just like variables and anything else, we don't even technically need this math question. We can actually just kind of take this and just put this in here, and that will basically just be doing the same thing. So the return value will be basically, you can kind of think of it like we're calling this, we're passing in 1 + 1 or 1 and 1. It will return whatever the 2 numbers are, and then that return value will be basically here. So this would be equivalent to doing this almost, except we're actually doing math. So again, we'll run this and we get our 2 here. Another thing to kind of realize here, which is kind of interesting, is that sure, we're doing complex math here, but what if we want to do extra complex math by adding 1 and 1 together again? And this time we're getting the return value of 1 + 1, and we're doing it again to pass it into another function here. Just trying to make it super clear here that the return value here is basically the equivalent of whatever this is going to be. So if we run this here, we can see we are going to get a 3 because we're doing 1 plus whatever the result is of 1 + 1. Perfect. You might now also realize that print itself is a function because we're using it the same way as we're using our do complex math or our print sentence, right? This, if you look here, is a function, and it takes in some values, and it can basically return none, which is basically just meaning that it doesn't really have a return value. So say we want to use this to make a dictionary. So say we have the name and the age of a person, and we want to make a dictionary defining that person. So let's say make person equals name, or not equals, but we're going to set name as a parameter, and we're going to set age as a parameter, and then we're going to return name and age. Okay, and now if we say print make person Jake and 30, not 309, not that old, and then we go ahead and print, we are now going to get name Jake age 30. So this is again a super useful way that you can kind of make objects or make data structures or anything you want using functions. So that's about it for today. We got into the basics of functions. I hope it makes sense to you. If it doesn't, please leave a comment down below and I will happily respond and try and make it make more sense. If you're down there or even not, or let's say if you wanted to maybe try coding today, then give this video a like. It really helps out, and we would love to have you around anyways. So, giving a like just kind of shows me that people appreciate these kinds of videos and, helps me make more. Also, if you want to consider subscribing, it's free and you'll be notified if you ring the little bell, ding, then you'll be notified the next time videos are posted. I try to post videos every about 2 a week if possible. And yeah, we're going to get through all of the coding basics for Python. Then we're going to go into some data structures and explore a lot of other cool things. So it would be great to have you as part of the channel as we, continue to grow. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Remember, never stop learning.